John, we've got to put together like an extensive outdoor kind of deep fake AI alert system because I think some people were confused by tonight's artificial intelligence depiction of you in Maui. You're not actually in Maui. How are you tonight, John?
Doing great. I've been to Maui. So it's
Yeah.
really just a matter of time, right? It's a
Right.
matter of when. So I
Yeah.
have been to Maui. The question is, was it in the last 10 days or not?
No.
Um, no,
This,
no.
yeah, this is
But
just a
if
joke. You've also lost like 30 pounds here, so,
I look
looking good.
fabulous,
Yeah.
yeah, it looks like I'm in your body. It looks like I'm down to 135. That's fabulous.
You taking
So
ozempic or what's going on here?
yeah. I got a little bit extra from a couple of my friends on TV. It seems like
Yeah.
everybody on television who's female looks fabulous. I don't know if you've noticed, but
But doesn't it do something
everybody
bad?
looks fabulous. I've heard that, but I don't know what the bad part is. But I've heard that there's some downside. But it seems like everybody on Fox News looks great.
Oh, the most
Maybe they
common
haven't
side
had caffeine.
effects include nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, stomach pain, and constipation. How could you have diarrhea and constipation? We are so
Simultaneously.
down a left
It's
field
and
track
it's a
here.
yeah, it's a simultaneous phenomenon, which
That
really
sounds
makes
like a
it frustrating.
disaster. Yeah,
It's really frustrating. I don't know if you've
we
ever
are
had diarrhea and constipation at the same time.
so far into the
It's
weeds here,
really
John.
frustrating.
Just
Yes.
to bring us back on track a bit here, you've been knocking it out of the park on X. It's very difficult to shake the calling it of Twitter. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think from a branding perspective, it's a disaster.
Yeah,
So tweeting and sending a tweet,
yeah,
but they've gotten rid of the terminology. So when you
it's
go
so
to
bad.
do a if you go to quote a tweet, it's not called quote tweet anymore. It's called quote. They changed the terminology. So they're getting completely rid of the bird and the tweety tweet. That's gone, man. He's not into that. And this is one of the big mistakes I think that big companies make. The companies who are successful, the ones who, when they acquire a brand, they don't monkey with the brand. They leave it be. The
Right.
companies who screw up are the ones who change it and start, folding it into the parent company and all that. So I think this is a mistake on his part. I understand the sentiment, but it doesn't mean it's the right thing to do.
Well,
So
and
that's
it's
a Twitter thing.
look a little bit difficult for you and I to second guess the business decisions of the richest dude in the world. But I mean, something that's been bothering me though is that, the new CEO, John, I don't really like her. Have you noticed this? You're going to know what I'm talking about. Everything she says is very carefully articulated to conceal the fact that she is from Suffolk County, Long Island. Okay? So something happened around exit 51, and we got right back to exactly old Twitter with this lady because she's talking about things being lawful but awful and what. I mean, this is exactly like the kind of annoying
I don't get
person
it.
I went to high
Just
school
seems
with.
hmm Yeah, it's fascinating. The Peter principle, right, is something that's well documented. It's when somebody rises to a level that's above their capability, right? And what are you going to say? I mean, it just seems like such an odd choice. There were so many other people who were chomping at the bit to run this thing for him. And I don't think he got a whole lot of political goodwill with his existing user base with this choice. So that's my opinion. I could be wrong. I did have a couple slides though that have nothing to do with Maui that I want to share with the YouTube
Well,
audience.
we will
Before
get to
go
that,
her.
but I don't want to move off of this just yet because I'm not just trying to insult her because she's a Suffolk County annoying. Let's leave it at that. This, I think, represents the recapture of Twitter as a platform because, I've seen Linda Yaccarino pictured with and around Emmy statuettes quite a bit. And I'm not bringing this up because I think the Emmys are jackasses. I'm bringing it up because I think it's a control network. I do think they're jackasses. I didn't mean to stumble on that word. I will say that proudly. It's my opinion. But in a serious note, people, I hope, will check out the report, The Twitter Coup. You know, John, they've still been trying to suppress it. But if people go to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com for free, you don't have to subscribe to read this. It's just packed with important information about how the relationship between the FBI and Twitter came about. And if you haven't read this, I really do encourage people to go to crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com and check it out, because it's happening again. Twitter has been recaptured, and this is happening, John, I think, ahead of the presidential election, because there's literally nothing these people will stop at to kind of like fool everybody and hide news stories like they did with Hunter Biden's laptop and whatnot. So I just wanted to tell everybody about that, and also remind everybody that in just about 20 minutes, we're going to be doing our sponsor exclusive show. John and I, every Friday, have our sponsor exclusive show. You can join us on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen or patreon.com/IamJohnCullen. You get simulcasts of all of John's appearances on Crowdsource the Truth, and also unique content that's there just for John's sponsors. So definitely check out subscribestar.com and patreon.com/IamJohnCullen. And of course, all the other channels for Crowdsource the Truth. John, what do you got in the slides today?
Well, let's take a look. Let's go to the deck. I'm tickling 20,000 followers on Twitter with 40,000 tweets. So
well done.
I think that the tweet counts in the upper left-hand corner, I think it's close to 40,000 or something. So, with that number of followers on Twitter, again, we get to have an opportunity to share information with groups of people, big name people, and then the audience is kind of watching this happen in real time, which is, we'll share something from the CDC or the WHO with a whole bunch of big name people, and they're just silent. They're just silent. And it's like, it's kind of weird. It's like, what are you guys acting like children? This is like an adult conversation. We're trying to be adults here and have an adult conversation. It's meaningful. And I'll share something, and there's no response at all from CDC data. And so the audience is now starting to look at some of these people, and they're going, I don't know if I trust this guy anymore. Why won't he talk to John Cullen about the CDC data? Because of that? Because John Cullen doesn't want to end up like Phil Haney? Because John Cullen doesn't want to end up like Salman Rushdie with a knife in his eye? That's why? Right? So Phil Haney's dead. Salman Rushdie's almost dead. Right? Lost his vision, one eye.
Yeah.
Right? I'm trying to avoid this. Right? That's the whole point here. Right? So if people are afraid of the data and they're afraid of the findings, to me, that's fascinating. If they're afraid of the outfit, that's maybe even more fascinating. As a grown adult, you're afraid of somebody who's afraid of ad hominem attacks. Right? Those ad hominem attacks haven't worked very well on Julian Assange, Edward Snowden, right? Pierre Corey, right? All these doctors lost their jobs, Jason.
Yeah.
If you spoke out and you said anything that was contrary to what they were expecting you to say,
anybody
you were gone.
In any field.
Were gone.
They're stamping out
remarkable.
everybody. That's why I wanted people to read that Twitter coup report, and that's why I think it's so important that people pay attention to what's going on with Linda Yaccarino. I mean, I was making fun of her, but she's hanging out with the World Economic Forum, and she's bringing in all this disinformation stuff. Didn't they say they were hiring some new, whole swath of people to check for disinformation during the election? They've recaptured it. I honestly think Elon Musk wanted the insurance indemnification for SpaceX, which he got. That's probably worth $44 billion right there. And now do whatever the hell you want with it.
It just could very well be, and she could be pregnant. Who knows, right? She's having his 12th kid or whatever. So, he's got 10 or 11 kids already, right? So
I think she's like 60 though.
No, Yaccarino? She's not 60. Get the hell out of here. No way. No way is she 60. But I agree with you. Look, I think in one of the videos that I did this segment with Dr. Dave Cullen, where I said, I was showing him the data from the WHO, and then I was filling it in with that other data, right? And how it all came together. It was like magic. And I said, remember that movie where Tom Cruise says to Renee Zellweger, "You complete me," right? And it's like,
Jerry Maguire.
Wow. Right, Jerry Maguire. And he says, "You complete me." And he drags it out. He overplays the scene, but whatever. And it's sort of like Elon with this choice of Linda Yaccarino. It's like, you lost me at Yak. Like, we didn't even finish the Yaccarino.
She says you had me at hello, right?
Oh, what a choice, dude. Really? I mean, come on. You could have picked Kreskin, could have done whatever. So I'm totally on board with what you're saying. It's remarkable. And on this show, look, we've talked about the ownership of Twitter. We've talked about Awaleed bin Talal. We've talked about Gina Haspel going to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to sit down with the king to talk about Twitter. Come on. I mean, something's going on behind the scenes here. We know that there were prosecutions of Saudi Americans who were working at Twitter spying. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. So I think you're on the money here. And the fact it looks to me, to you, I think, like he's just said, yeah, I got to get back to the Rockets.
Yeah.
And
they're taking away Block. Why do they want to do that?
I don't know. But let's show the audience some slides. I got a bunch of good stuff. Let me show them a couple of these groovy slides. Let's go back to there. So yeah, Twitter's a bit of a mess.
Astronauts
so on
getting herpes.
Well, last week's show, we talked about, whatever happened to Mark Kelly. And why don't we see him on TV anymore, right? So then we found out that, herpes flares up when you go into space. No wonder we don't see Senator Mark Kelly anymore. So we were talking about space viruses and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure as soon as he heals up, he'll be back on TV.
But I don't think they're getting herpes from space. They have the zoster virus in them and probably going to space. Maybe not
zoster, dude. It's not zoster. Zoster's chickenpox. Herpes is herpes virus. Zoster virus is chickenpox and shingles.
What is
okay?
So, but whatever. But you still have herpes in there, and I'm saying when it's like you could go to L.A. and it might feel run down and get some kind of virus express itself.
Herpes
I'm sure
is in you from the time you're a kid. You know how the kids are drinking from the same milk. As soon as the first cold sore you have, you've got herpes. That's herpes virus. Now it's in you. And we talked on the show 2 weeks ago with Dr. Judy about the expression or not of a virus, right? So does the virus, like shingles. Shingles is zoster virus, same as chickenpox, expressing itself later in life differently. Same virus expresses itself differently.
It hurts.
It's wild. It hurts like hell. Yeah, I'll tell you, chickenpox when you're 20 years old hurts like hell, can kill you. All right, so what do we have here? So last week we were looking at the hunt for viruses in space. Really not a whole lot of people talking about this, right? So, there are a lot of people talking about raccoon dogs, and people talk about bats, and people talk about viruses coming from pangolins. And the Emmys got canceled for another year because they're that important, right? So for something that important, we really don't need to do it, so we'll put it off another year. So there is no Emmys this year. And
is that right?
Yeah, they're canceled.
I thought they just put it a few month. Oh, wow.
No, they're canceled. They're canceled for this year. I'm really heartbroken because...
But I think they burned up all their money suing me. That might be the problem.
They probably said, is this really a business or what are we doing here? So Jason's called us out and it's kind of clear. All right, so we did the whole space thing. The other thing that's important to note, I don't know if you can zoom in on this a little bit, but the WHO has said that as of last week, as of August the 7th, the Americas is no longer sharing COVID case information. So when you say that it's over, this is kind of the WHO is telling you, and would you please leave the stadium? We're turning the lights off.
Yeah.
Right? So they're saying, leave the stadium now, right? If
what
you're
are
still
they
in the
doing?
Stadium, we're letting the guards, right? The canines will be released in 15 minutes. Please leave the stadium now.
But seriously, why?
It's over. They're like, yeah. Now, but meanwhile, you look at the local media and you read the local stuff, and they're like, well, it seems that there's an outbreak of COVID. Right. So what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
What is this about? So I'm going to try and figure out why we're not communicating with the WHO anymore. But basically, we're saying, yeah, we're done with this, even though we're hearing all kinds of local stories about new flare-ups, new strains of the disease. All kinds of new stuff is coming. But we stopped sending data to the WHO. Now, also, YouTube has some new rules. You're not allowed to contradict the WHO or the CDC. So, we don't want to do that. So we're just telling you this is straight from them. Tonight, when we go with our patrons, we're going to take a look at some maps of what's happening in Hawaii. We'll look at some of the fires. We'll look at some eyewitness footage of what happened so that rather than hearsay, we can see it ourselves. And that's what we're going to do tonight. So we're going to take a look at some eyewitness footage of what happened in Maui so that there's this saying, if you slide back up to the first slide, there's a saying on the homepage of Twitter. Yeah, if you zoom in, what's that little quote I have there? If you zoom in on that quote, right below my name.
If you don't know what happened, you aren't going to figure out how it happened. Did you make that up?
Yeah. So if you don't know what happened, how the hell are you going to figure out how it happened? Right? You can, right? So the step one, what the F happened here? Right? What happened? Right? So before we can start figuring out, well, how did it happen? And was it this or was it that? And was she behind it? Was he involved? What happened? Let's take a look at that first. Once we're all clear and in agreement on what happened, then we're going to move to who do we want to bring in for questioning. And that's the other focus of tonight's show. Now, one of the things you see a lot of on social media, this is all over Facebook, all over Twitter right now, is that the head of police for Maui is the former head of the engagement. So he came from Vegas, and everybody's sending me this stuff on Twitter this week. This guy is from Vegas. Oh my God, what a coincidence! Like, okay, you guys think he started the fire? Is that what we're suggesting here? Or, so what is the coincidence that the guy from Vegas is
cover-ups? Maybe.
Okay, so we're going to look at that. And so that's kind of the thing. It's like, well, at one end of the spectrum, he started the fire, right? He comes to Maui
people are saying that?
No, but again, it's like, one end of the spectrum, he's responsible. At the other end of the spectrum, it's like, what the hell does he have to do? Nothing. He has nothing to do with it. Or is there something in the middle there? Like you said, is this guy like really good at covering stuff up and keeping secrets? Okay, so now why would he be good at that? Because he is Levi Hancock's boss. Oh, he was the boss of Levi Hancock. He was the head of the SWAT team, and he was also the head of the K-9 team for whom Bitsko and Newton worked. So the three key guys that breached the room worked for Pelletier. All right? So three of the key guys that have to keep the secret work for Pelletier. And what everybody's talking about on Twitter is he works for the LVMPD. What I'm focused on is he worked for the FBI. He went to FBI National Academy. This guy trained in Quantico. Then he went to the LVMPD. Was he part of Aaron Rouse's crew? Was he part of Comey's crew?
Yeah.
Was this guy working at the LVMPD, but really he's with the FBI?
Right. JTTF.
I don't know. Right. So who knows?
I would think.
But he's the head of the SWAT team. He's the head of the K-9
is
team.
Interesting, though, from an FBI kind of standpoint. They love their stupid little code names. Are you aware? You, I think, probably are. But this guy, Peltier, is a French physicist who discovered the thermoelectric effect. You can use electricity to move heat. There's something called a Peltier cooler, depending on who you're talking to about it. Have you heard of him before?
It's spelled the same.
No, it's not, but it's similar pronunciation and it's coincidental name. If he's the guy in charge of electrostatic fires, that's a good code name for him. I'm not saying he is.
All right. That's exciting. All right, let's go to our next slide. What else we have here? So this guy, he worked at the FBI, but again, when we take a look at the fire, we'll just keep in the back of our mind, okay, now where's the Vegas guy fit into what we're right? So we'll figure that out. What I did,
77 grand a year in pension. That's pretty good.
Yeah, just about 78,000 a year.
Wow.
So what I did when people started bringing him up was I said, all right, well, let's find out, how was this guy doing? What's his story? So he retired from the LVMPD with a pension. He's collecting about $78,000 a year in pension. If you go to the next slide, you'll see how he was earning. Was this guy an earner? Yeah, 200 and something thousand, right? Oh. So the far right column, total pay and benefits.
Wow,
so
almost 300 grand.
Almost 300 grand as a police captain at the LVMPD. And by the way, Bitsko went from sergeant to lieutenant to captain in the past 5 years. Wow. So he's been on the rapid career thing. So Bitsko is now a captain, which is pretty wild. So so he's been an earner. He's collecting his 80,000. Now he's the head of the police department in Maui.
Wow.
So he's got that 80,000 a year coming in, and he gets his Maui salary.
Right.
Nice gig. All right. I thought you guys would enjoy this before we head to our patron only thing. This is always fun. And this is something you may want to print this off and share with your dad. I think he'll get a kick out of this. This is from Anthem. This is from Anthem Healthcare. And if you zoom in, this is sort of the inside letter that you see inside the coffee room telling you how much incentive you get for COVID vaccines. So, and when the payments come, and here's the dates of the payments, and here's how much you get. So if 30% of the doctor, the physician, if 30% of your members are vaccinated, you're going to get $20 per vaccinated person.
Holy cow.
But if you can get up to 75% of your patients,
your little sales spiff. What is this?
This is fabulous. It's fab, dude. This is fabulous. And second place,
first prize
is a set
is
of
a Cadillac.
Right. Steak knives is second. Right. But if you can book, all right, listen, now this is really for players. If you're a player and you can book 75% vaccines,
coffee is for closers.
This is for closers, right? If you want to go to Maui, $125 bonus, right? President's Club is in Maui this year, right? $125 bonus per vaccinated member.
Wow.
Did you ever wonder why when you go to the supermarket, there's a sign in the front of the supermarket that says free flu vaccine, and then it says something like, and you get a $10 coupon back. It's like, you're going to give me money to get it? Where's this coming from? Who's giving money to get the vaccine?
Yeah.
What? Look at the bonus, bro. Look when it goes up to $250 per newly vaccinated member. So now,
holy cow!
This is a great spiff, and for those top performers, have we got a trip planned for you? This is Chairman's Club, right? So this is the inoculation club, right?
President.
Exactly. So you get to go with Borla. Right. And this is going to be really exciting. We take a cruise together. Nobody's going to get norovirus. Right. That's not going to happen. So I thought you guys would enjoy seeing what the bonus structure looks like that physicians in that health network. Now, that was only Anthem. Right. So I can't speak for Kaiser Permanente. I can't speak for, Aetna and any of these others. Right, but that was just one.
Holy cow. So I just got an idea in my head that we can't even discuss on YouTube having to do with that whole sales spiff program, but it's actually perfect timing, John, because we're about to head on over to the sponsor exclusive segment. People can join us there on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen. Patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, Odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, and subscribestar.com and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. I got to ask you something about that sales spiff. Stay with us,